so happy to hold this beautiful woman in my space and share her into your space once again. I seem to find any and every excuse to welcome the beautiful Elise Richmond back onto podcasts, onto video recordings, anywhere and everywhere I get the opportunity to share her, I do. So welcome, Elise.
Thanks so much for having me.
So even though you and I have been in each other's orbit for a really long time now, I'd like to start by asking you the question, who are you in this moment and what's meaningful to you today?
Oh, right now I am living my little farmhouse dream, I guess, which I didn't even know was my dream until I sort of came of age and realized what was important to me. I have changed significantly over the last decade, which, you'd hope from 23 to 33. And yeah, I'm just pocketed myself with my husband down in the bush, down in Tasmania. We have chickens running around and pumpkins growing, and we are just about to build a gym facility in this beautiful, peaceful space that we live in now to try and bring health and happiness to the population down here. And yeah, I guess I've just simplified life a lot. And it has become, it's the best thing I ever did.
I've been talking a lot recently about the concept of self-partnering. Are you familiar with that?
No, not at all.
Well, I suppose it's like taking self-care and turning it into something that feels more actionable and more aligned with creating a deep and meaningful and connected relationship with yourself. So it's showing up for yourself in moments that it matters rather than abandoning yourself and maybe allowing yourself to self-sabotage or believe those little voices in your head that tell you that you're an idiot, you're not worthy, you're not skilled enough, you're not smart enough, all of that. It's partnering yourself in a way that you become the support that you look for in the world. In using that brief explanation, can you think of examples of ways that you self-partner? Because I just get the feeling that you would have some very strong internal systems and strategies for self-partnering.
Yeah, and systems and strategies, I mean, everyone seems to be talking about them at the moment, whether it's in the fitness space or in your work environment, all those kind of things. And yes, of course, they're really important. And I think they are definitely something that develop and then evolve constantly over time. As a young person, I didn't have systems and strategies, you just wing it. But now these systems are just part of my bubble and they just happen automatically. And I guess that's where you want to be. And I don't even think twice about them. So when someone asks me about them, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't have any. But then you think about it and you're like, well, I wake up in the morning, I hug my husband, I make sure I eat the same breakfast that's going to fuel me for my training. I then train every day. I then, all these little things, they are my systems. And I guess that's why we've moved down to Tasmania, is because I, for one, understand what works for me now and what doesn't. And I just don't have time to waste on things that don't work for me. So I'm going to inject myself into an environment where I can take care of myself and I can be in love with myself, be in love with the life that I'm leading, and then project that love into the people that matter most for me.
Fuck yes. That's all I have to say on that. That's a big fuck yes. So the reason I've invited you on today is to reflect and share a part of your journey or your story or something that you have been through that maybe you haven't told in detail before, or maybe you have a new perception of as a 33-year-old that is completely in love with herself. And so I'm inviting women to share parts of their story that reflect something that they have been through that they believe has contributed to the sense of self that they have today. So did you want to open up anything from your past, from your lived experience that you feel would be meaningful to share today?
Yeah, I guess something I have spoken with you before, I think, about struggling with an eating disorder back in probably my early 20s, and then moving all the way through my mid 20s, and then sort of recovering come 27 and finding my way out of it. And I think that was a really significant part of my life that allowed me to reach the potential with my athletic career that I did, and the potential with my relationship with myself. But something that was really important that happened in 2015 was my father dying. And he was an he had alcoholism, and that's why my parents divorced. He struggled with alcohol, and back when I was sort of 17, I went to him after them being divorced for 7 years and just sort of said, "Hey Dad, like, why didn't you ever try to get better for us? Like, why didn't you ever want to help us and be with us?" And he always chose the bottle or the cask of wine, in his case, over us, and us being my brother and I. He never called us. He never we were always wanting to go over there and say hi and stay with him and those kind of things. And then, it just got to a point at 17 or 18, I think, where I was like, okay, if something bad happens to him, how am I going to feel and how am I going to live the rest of my life? So it was a really selfish conversation that I had with him. It really had nothing to do with him. But I needed to know. I needed to know why he didn't fight for us and why he just rolled over and was like, no, alcohol is for me, which is what it felt like, as a child. Now, obviously, I understand addiction a lot better and alcoholism, etc. So I had that hard conversation with him, and he cried. He's the first time I've ever seen him cry, and we had a really good chat. And I was like, okay, like, this is the start of our new relationship. We're going to move forward from here. And then I just never got a call. And I think I'm
you again. Sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, so are we good?
I think so. So sorry. You're like right in the middle. I'm like so into it.
Go on. And then it got to a point. So 2015, he passed away.
Sorry, let me just recap in case we missed that. So you had that conversation. He was really emotional. You thought this will be the start of a new relationship, and then?
And then it wasn't. Nothing changed. I was still being the adult in this relationship and going to him and trying to heal us as a father and daughter, and it just wasn't there, and it was fine. I knew I'd had that conversation and I'd done what I could, and that was okay. And then, so fast forward quite a few years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, and he did pass away. He was alone in his house. He didn't get found for a few days. He has 4 children. He has 2 past marriages. And it was really sad, but I felt a huge disconnect from it. I didn't feel like he was my dad. I was like, that's really sad. And it also gave me probably the greatest lesson I will ever learn in my life. And that is, it's about the people. It's relationships. It's those that you love. And it's about living and showing those people that you care about them. And so you don't live this life alone. And loneliness, as we've all experienced this last year, is just horrific, and it's horrifying, and it's the worst way to live a life is being alone. And I can't imagine how much he struggled, but it allowed me to live my life differently. So he gave me that gift of what not to do. And then I could move forward just living a life in the complete opposite manner, not only in the friendships and family that I create around me, but in my health as well. He killed himself through drinking. It blew my mind, and smoking, and, never took care of himself. So I was just like, okay, I want to live the polar opposite life to that. And so it's kind of sent me on this trajectory of, what is life for? What are we doing here? And how do we make it a fun time and a great ride?
Mm. Do you think it's impacted the tolerance you have for other people taking care of themselves? Like, does that trigger you when you see someone that's taking their health or their body, if they're taking advantage of that?
Yes and no. I have done a lot of back education on addiction. And my husband struggled from drug addiction, and I do understand it a lot better. And we're only as strong as the environment that we're in. And I understand the brain a lot better, and how hard it is to overcome these things. And, you know, eating shitty food and those kind of things are just a smaller version of it. We get into these patterns of behaviors, and our systems just want to repeat patterns of behaviors, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. And I know that now. So yes, it does frustrate me, but I understand it better and I can sympathize with it.
Two things I really want to touch on. So all I hear from you as you're sharing this story, and even as you're reflecting beyond that, is kindness and compassion that oozes from you. And I'm wondering where that has stemmed from, whether it's something that has just, always been part of you, or it's something that you've had to cultivate and nurture within you. That's my first question. Where do you think that comes from? Because I think it's quite astounding to just hold so much love and compassion and kindness in all aspects of this story, for yourself, for your dad, for other people that you can see reflected in this story. It's amazing.
I think genetically, like, my mum is just the most compassionate person you will ever meet. So she definitely passed that on to me as well. But, I wasn't always like that. I became a PT at 20 years old, and I was fit and healthy my whole life. And I was like, just go exercise. Like, it wasn't there. It was just, I didn't have any life experience. I didn't understand people and the different places that they come from. So I was like, just eat better, just exercise, like, just get over it. So that has obviously developed over time, and working with hundreds of men and women over this last decade. But you never know what someone's going through. You never know. And people can project these, and social media is very bad for this, project these images of fun and loving life and being healthy and happy, and you just never know what's happening. So I can't judge someone, because everyone's going through their own shit, and life is tough. And as much as we don't want to bring that shit, sometimes we should let people know that, hey, look, I'm really struggling. And I know a lot of lost relationships in my life could have been made even more beautiful if they stepped up and said, hey, I'm struggling with this at the moment and I need your help. But the opposite happened, and I just got pushed away. So I think that's really sad. And I think if we felt okay with our struggles and sharing our struggles, then the world would be a much more beautiful place.
I agree. And I think if we could have understood maybe throughout our lives that often at times we don't ask for help because we feel like there's nothing that anybody can do, but maybe all we needed to ask for was compassion and kindness. We don't always want people to fix anything or do anything, but we just want that compassion and kindness to kind of enfold us.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a hug, just hug me. Don't say anything, just hold me and let me know that there's another human in this world that makes me feel safe.
The second thing I'd like to ask, if you feel comfortable answering it, it's interesting to me that you had a dad who faced addiction, and then your partner in life, your beautiful husband, Luke, is also somebody that had experienced addiction through his life. Was this something that you found interesting, that you had been drawn to somebody who also mirrored the experience that you had had with your dad? And do you feel like it was an opportunity for your healing in establishing a loving, safe relationship with Luke?
Ooh, daddy issues question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you know what? I have never even thought about that before. I've never even put two and two together, because I do not even put Luke and my dad in the same hemisphere. Like they're just totally polar opposite to each other. But it did give me a really good way of seeing how someone can let addiction rule their life and destroy their life, where someone can completely turn it around. So it has given me that black and white of when I am working with someone who might have an addiction to food or training even, then I can see that there is a light, and certain types of personalities and certain types of healing mechanisms can get you towards that light.
I found as well, people that have lived within their shadow for a really long time, sometimes it's that knowing and understanding of living the lie is what actually helps us find our truth, right? Yeah.
Big time. Yep.
Yeah. I love that, Elise. I actually did not even know this story about you. This is why it's so important to have these like deeper conversations, don't you think? I feel like we make connections with people and we feel like we know someone based on what we have shared with each other, but there's always these other layers to uncover, and you just get a more, I don't know, well-rounded view of someone, you know?
Sure. Life is long, and there's experiences every single day, and you're not going to be the same person at 20 that you are at 35, and you're hopefully going to have life experience, and you're going to be able to draw lessons from that. And if you can find the lessons in everything that you go through, well, then you can move forward and you can adapt and become stronger and more resilient because of those.
I have one final question. It's probably a pretty selfish question because it's something that I consciously have to be aware of and work through within myself in terms of setting and maintaining my own boundaries energetically with the people I work with. So one of the beliefs that I'm trying to fully embody just as a human, not even just as a coach, is something that was shared with me by a mentor. And it's that I believe that people can change if they want to and are willing to. So it's seeing, the possibility and potential in people, but going actually hands off on the decision making that they have to choose for themselves to actually generate that change. And what I hear in your story is that you are a woman that can see potential and possibility in people. You give people the opportunity to step up into their power, but you're also very able to just walk away and be hands off if people don't choose that for themselves. Is that something that you have made a decision about for yourself, or something that you've always been able to do?
It's definitely something that's developed, particularly over maybe the last 3 years since our move to Tasmania. That was the ultimate protection of my personal energy, because I do really love being alone and being able to have a space that is completely away from people. But when I'm with people, I'm very present and I'm there, and that is only able to happen because I do protect that time and that space. But yeah, it's definitely something that's developed over the last 3 years, and particularly as a trainer and a nutritionist, you can only help someone so much. I have tools in my toolbox that I can give you. I have recommendations. I can cheer for you when you are doing well, and I can try to pick you up and help you on a different course if you're not doing so well. But ultimately, I need to see that you are willing to change. I need to see that you're willing to challenge your status quo and go, no, I know there's a better way, and I'm trying. I need to see that you're trying. And if I'm not seeing that, well, I don't want to just keep taking your money. And I don't want to just be here. I'm your friend, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to help you develop. So if I can't see that you're coming to the table with that, well, then I'm sorry, like maybe this isn't the time for you. And that's not to say a year down the track, something might trigger and you go, actually, no, this is it. This is my time. But right now it's not happening and I'm not helping. And that's fine. And that's okay. I can only do so much. But, you know, for me, there were so many light bulb moments that made me shift gears. So I know for other people, it can happen overnight. It really can. It's a thought, and it all begins with that thought, and they can change overnight. But if it's not happening after X amount of effort that I've put in on my part and I've done all I can, well, then maybe it's our relationship, and maybe the relationship isn't working out properly, and we need to sort of find you someone that will trigger that light bulb moment. And that's totally fine. I can't help everybody. That's so fine. And I'm so okay with that. I used to try to save the world, and I was like, well, I can't. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it comes down to, right?
Yeah. Save the people that want to be saved, and save the people that you care about as well. You can't care about every single person in the world.
All right. Final question. I feel like I've said that 3 times now, but final question, something I've never asked you before. You and your beautiful husband, Luke, are people that have collected incredible experiences throughout your lives individually and then together. And so I am really interested to know, what moments have you declared worthy enough to capture in photo frames behind you? What's on that wall?
So yeah, this is our potentially going to be the whole house covered in photos. But, you know, I just hate when photos don't get shown and put up, and it's just so nice to sit in your living room and be able to reflect constantly on all the fun that you've had. So it's pretty much all of our adventures, all of our achievements, whether it's CrossFit or bodybuilding or climbing a mountain or crossing a desert or whatever it is. We've got some of Luke's world records up there, and some newspaper articles from stuff that we've done. And yeah, just little mementos and just little things that say, well done, you did this. Keep remembering it. It's something to be proud of.
What's in the future for you? What's something that you are in the process of that you know you are going to be really proud of? Something that you are pulling towards you through your way of being at the moment?
Definitely opening this gym down here. We both, Luke and I, have just finished studying neurophysics therapy, and this gym is going to be based in neurophysics therapy. And it's just bringing a little bit of love and light and a different way of thinking about exercise and training to the population, who generally seems to be really suffering at the moment, whether it's anxiety or fear or pain or disorder. So it's really nice to be able to have this skill set now to not only evolve ourselves as trainers, but to give the population, to give back again and give the population something, a different way of looking at things. So that's sort of our next couple of months. And then of course we've got adventures planned, and definitely hit lists we want to tick this year, despite borders and all that. There's we've just gone domestic and bought ourselves a little boat that we're going to jazz up and explore some more domestic stuff this year.
Amazing. Elise, thank you for your contribution. As always, I personally believe that contribution is definitely the fast track to just sustainable fulfillment. And so it is never a surprise to me that you always have that beautiful smile and such beautiful energy, because you contribute so much. So thank you for contributing here today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.